Hey, close your eyes. Forget everything you know. You're not in your bed anymore. You're not holding your phone or listening through headphones in a safe, quiet room. You're dust. You're sweat. You're windburn and sun-scorch and half a heartbeat from collapse. It is the year 1220. You're 19, maybe 20, but no one's keeping track, not here, not in the Mongol horde. You don't get birthdays in the horde. You get scars, you get blisters. You get a horse that won't stop moving and a bow that tears your fingers raw. Your name doesn't matter. Not anymore. You're not a son, not a scholar, not a dreamer. You're property of war now, and war rides fast. You haven't bathed in 2 weeks. Your thighs are raw from the saddle. Your breath tastes like dried mutton and regret. You've slept maybe an hour at a time when the horses stop or the blood dries long enough. The ground doesn't welcome you. The wind doesn't care. The sky watches with indifference. This is the steppe. And out here, you're prey pretending to be predator. If you'd like to hear more stories like this, give it a like and subscribe. It helps us keep making them. Now breathe in. The air tastes like horse piss and iron. The dawn is coming. And today, you ride with the Mongol horde. Too bad you won't survive it. The cold wakes you before the sun does. Not just any cold steppe cold. The kind that crawls into your bones and makes you question your life choices. The kind that bites, not playfully, like a wolf. Your blanket is a horse, literally. You're curled against its flank for warmth. Doesn't care, still snoring, you envy it. If you could trade places, you would. You shift. Your back cracks. Your legs are stiff. Your mouth is dry and full of grit. Not dust grit, like you were chewing gravel in your sleep. Maybe you were. Around you the horde is stirring. Not with shouting, not with alarm. Just 1,000 tiny movements, saddles creaking, men coughing, horses snorting, quiet, precise. Rehearsed, like a machine made of tired bodies and sharpened steel. You roll to your feet, slowly. Everything hurts. Feet, knees, shoulders, neck. Your spine's been negotiating with the earth all night and lost the argument. No breakfast. There's no breakfast in the Mongol horde. You grab a strip of dried meat, maybe goat, maybe rat. Doesn't matter. It's salty, chewy, and tastes like leather boiled in regret. You chew anyway. Your stomach doesn't complain. It gave up 3 days ago. You're already in armour, if you can call it that. Stiff leather stitched over bone. Smells like smoke and death. You haven't taken it off in days. Can't. You sleep in it, you bleed in it, you die in it. Your bow is slung across your back. Long, curved, unforgiving. Draw weight heavy enough to rip muscle. You've got 2 quivers, one at your hip, one on the saddle. You check your arrows like someone might check their pulse. Because if you lose them, you're dead. You don't have a sword, not yet. Swords are earned. Swords mean you're someone, you're not someone. Yet. Your horse is up now. You don't name it. You were told not to. The old man with the scarred face said, "Don't name anything you might have to eat." You thought he was joking. He wasn't. You brush the frost off its mane, check its hooves, its breath steams in the air like it's still mad it had to wake up. Then, in the distance, a sound. Not drums, not horns, not a speech. Hooves, thousands of hooves. The generals are riding the line, inspecting, watching, saying nothing. You don't need words. You already know what this day is. You've known for weeks. Today you ride to war. Not skirmish, not raid. War. There's no line formation. No banners. No brass. This isn't Europe. This isn't knights and chivalry and glorious last stands. This is manoeuvre. Velocity. Deception. This is thunder in all directions. You saddle up. Hands numb, shoulders tight. The stirrups bite into your thighs like punishment. The older warriors already look bored. One is cleaning his nails with the point of a knife. Another's laughing at something in Mongolian you don't understand. You don't speak the language yet. Doesn't matter. You know kill. You know go. You know stop. That's enough. The Khan is out there somewhere, not Genghis Chinggis. Don't get it wrong. Not out loud, that name is blood. You've never seen him. Most haven't. Doesn't matter. His orders arrive like wind, silent, invisible, impossible to ignore. The army doesn't march, it flows, splits into dozens of streams, scouts out miles in every direction. Some men are already riding, you didn't see them leave. That's how it works. No one waits for you. You ride. Not alone, never alone. You're part of a 10-year arb and 9 men and you. If one fails, all 10 are punished. You learned that on day 1. A boy in your group dropped his bow during a river crossing. It floated 10 feet. All 10 of you were ordered to sleep without fire in snow. That boy died. No one asked his name. Your Arban leader, Bata, rides like the wind hates him. Face like carved leather. Doesn't blink, doesn't joke, hasn't smiled in weeks. He told you, you live by speed, you die by noise. You haven't coughed since. The sun's creeping up now, not golden, not soft, just pale and hard like a blade edge in the sky. You crest a ridge, in the distance smoke, a village, stone walls, wooden gates, probably armed, probably dead soon. You feel your stomach clench, not fear, not exactly, more like tension the way a bowstring feels just before it snaps. The order comes, not shouted, just a hand signal. You split left, another 10 splits right. You don't charge. You circle. Always circle. The Mongol horde doesn't hit like a hammer. It carves, slices, bleeds you out in spirals. You draw an arrow, hand steady now, muscle memory. The bow creaks as you pull it back. It hums like it's hungry. You don't fire yet. You wait for the signal. More hooves, more motion. The village gates open too late. A few men stumble out with spears. You loose the arrow. It flies like it wants to leave the world. Hits a shoulder. Not fatal, doesn't matter. He screams, falls. The rest panic. Your horse turns on command. You fire another. This one catches a leg. Man drops. Another circle. Another volley. No screaming now. Just gasps, shouts in a language you don't understand, doesn't matter. You hear the tone. It's surrender. You don't stop. You don't capture. Not today. You ride past one of the wounded. He reaches for you. Blood pouring from his mouth. You don't look down. You're told to ride, so you ride. And then the gates fall. Not from battering rams, from fear. From inside. A woman runs, carrying a child. She sees you. She slows, eyes wide. You aim. You stop. You lower your bow. Someone behind you doesn't. The woman falls. The child keeps running, and you feel something break in your chest. But no one speaks. You regroup after. On the far side of the village, the fire is spreading, the smoke stings your eyes, your lips are cracked, your thighs are bleeding. You still haven't eaten. Someone passes a water skin. You sip. It's sour. Batar glances at you. You did not shoot, he says. You say nothing. He shrugs. Next time shoot. Then he rides on. You don't follow right away. You look back once. The village is gone now. Just smoke, just ash, just memory. You grip the reins, spur your horse. You ride, and the wind howls behind you like it's laughing. You smell it before you see it. Burnt leather, wet fur, sweat that's gone sour and underneath it all iron. Not the shiny kind, not weaponsmith iron, blood iron. It's in the air now, heavy, thick, coated with silence. That's what the Mongol horde smells like. Not glory, not conquest. Decay. Your horse stinks, you stink, the man riding next to you stinks. Everyone does, nobody cares. If you smell anything other than horse piss and rawhide, something's wrong. The wind carries it, that mix of animal, man and death. And it doesn't go away. You've been riding since dawn. No stops, no shade. The sun is a fist pressed against your skull. Your water's gone. You're chewing a piece of leather to keep your mouth wet. It's not working. The air's dry. Not just thirsty. Angry. The kind of dry that cracks lips and peels skin. You can feel your eyelids starting to stick. The wind cuts sideways across the steppe, dragging dust with it. You squint. Doesn't help. Your eyes are already full of grit. Everyone's are. You pass a dead sheep, half-eaten, crows watching from a distance. Even they don't want to get close. Ahead, your Arben slows. You follow automatically. You're not thinking anymore. You don't think out here. Thinking wastes water. There's a camp forming. Fast, efficient. Controlled chaos. No shouting. No wasted motion. Just fires being lit. Horses being watered. Meat being cut. You unsaddle your horse. The leather creaks. Comes off in one slow, sticky motion. The horse's back is raw where the strap's rubbed all day. You feel a pang of guilt. You tell yourself it's just a horse. You whisper it out loud. It's just a horse. You don't believe it. You check your gear. Bow crack near the grip, still usable. Quiver down to 9 arrows, you'll need more. You'll need to scavenge from corpses or strip them from the walls of the next village. That's what resupply looks like in the horde. You find a chunk of meat in your saddlebag. Rock hard. Probably yak. Maybe something else. You chew anyway. Your teeth hurt, your gums bleed, you swallow anyway. Batar sits near a fire, legs crossed like he's carved from stone. He's wiping his sword with a cloth that used to be white. Now it's the colour of rust. He looks at you, not with interest, just calculation. You have your blood yet? He asks. You nod. He spits into the fire. Good, means you won't flinch next time. You don't answer, because you did flinch. Not from the fighting, from the silence after, from the smell. When a place burns, it smells like more than smoke. It smells like people, like history, like everything that mattered being turned into ash in real time. You watched a roof cave in on a group of villagers. You heard someone screaming in a language you didn't know. You almost stepped forward. Almost. Then someone rode past and yelled, "Keep riding!" So you did. You wipe your hands on your tunic. Leaves a smear. Dirt, grease, blood. You don't check. You sit down. The fire crackles. Someone's boiling horse bones. Broth, if you're lucky. If not, it's just something warm to fill the space where your stomach used to be. A man next to you pulls off his boot. His sock comes with it, skin and all. No one reacts. He shrugs, grabs a rag and wraps his foot again. That's the kind of army this is. The kind that doesn't have medics. Only survivors. You stare into the flames. They don't comfort you. They just remind you of what you helped light this morning. Across the camp, a rider returns. Fast. Urgent. You tense. He dismounts before the horse stops moving, runs straight to a commander's tent, if you can call a patched piece of canvas a tent. Voices. Muted. Short. Then the word spreads, not like wildfire, like disease. Another village, 20 miles west. Refuse tribute. You already know what that means. Another ride, another circle, another black smear on the map. Someone nearby sighs, not in frustration, in fatigue. Then they start saddling their horse again. You do the same. The meat's still in your mouth. You chew harder. The blood iron's in your nose again. You spit doesn't help. You mount. Your thighs scream, your spine groans, your hands are blistered and raw. Doesn't matter. The horse moves. So do you. You ride past the edges of the camp, past the smoking fires, past the men sharpening blades and not looking at each other. You smell the horde again. Horse sweat. Metal. Burnt cloth. Old blood. And something worse. You realise it's coming from you. that smell, that rot. You've changed. Your skin has changed. Your clothes are soaked in the last 3 days of killing and running and silence. You're no longer separate from the horde. You're part of it now. You thought you were just tagging along, a witness, a learner. But there's blood under your fingernails and soot in your lungs and a look in your eyes that wasn't there before. And the wind, it's behind you again, pushing you forward. You spit one more time and whisper to no one, "I'm still here." The horse snorts, the dust rises, and somewhere in the distance another fire waits to be lit. You thought you'd already survived the worst of it. The burning villages, the screaming, the way fire makes people melt instead of die. You were wrong, because that was the job. This is the preparation. Welcome to training Mongol style. You thought training meant drills, swords, targets, marching in lines like the knights in the books you used to read. No, here, training means pain and repetition, and pain again. You wake up before dawn not because anyone tells you to, but because someone kicks your ribs until your body remembers it has to. Your eyes sting, your breath fogs, your mouth tastes like boiled leather and old sweat. You reach for your boots. They're frozen, solid. You beat them against a rock until they open wide enough to jam your feet in. No one speaks, not yet. Morning isn't for speaking, morning is for movement. You eat something that might have been food last week. Fermented horse milk, smoked fat, a lump of grain that's mostly dirt now. Your stomach protests. Too bad. You mount. No saddle. Saddles are for the weak, or the nobles, or the dead. You ride bareback for now. Your thighs burn just thinking about it. The trainer you never learned his name appears on a pale stallion with eyes like war gods. He doesn't greet you, doesn't ask who you are. He already knows what you are, unworthy. So he fixes that. With a whip. Not as punishment as punctuation, as emphasis. You do something wrong, crack. You blink too long, crack. You breathe loud, crack. Eventually your body learns. Not because it's smart, because it's scared. You start with the bow. Always the bow. You hold it too tight. He slaps your hands. You pull it wrong. He slaps your face. You fire and miss. No slap. Just a look. That's worse. Because the Mongol composite bow isn't a weapon. It's a language, and you don't speak it yet. It curves like a question mark and kicks like a mule. You have to unlearn everything your arms thought they knew. You pull. Release. The arrow misses by a mile. He says nothing. But later he makes you run 10 miles behind your horse. On foot. Armour on. No water. That's how they teach here. You want to learn? Bleed. You spend 3 days riding until your spine feels like glass and your inner thighs are one blister away from splitting open. You sleep standing. Eat riding. Piss without stopping. And shoot on command. Moving. Always moving. The trainer starts shouting numbers. 1 means turn. 2 means fire left. 3 means drop and roll. 4 means fire backward over the horse's tail at full gallop. You fail every one of them. At first. Then you fail fewer. Then you miss the targets, but hit the rhythm. Then one day, one awful, dust-filled, horse-stinking day, you hit the mark. Center. While riding. While turning. While bleeding. He nods once. That's all. But it's enough. You don't realize it at first, but everything hurts less now. Not because it's easier. Because you're harder. Your arms are cords of tension. Your fingers are calloused and cracked. Your knees have stopped sending complaints to your brain. Your eyes squint without thinking. Your spine stays straight in the saddle without you asking it to. You've become something else. Not a warrior. Not yet. But not prey anymore either. You still sleep light. One eye open, hand on your bow. You still eat fast, one foot in the stirrup. But when the trainer calls you out in front of the others and says, "You shoot now," you don't hesitate. He holds up a helmet, tosses it high. You fire, twice. Both arrows hit. One dead center, one a little low. He grunts. You can't tell if he's impressed or disappointed. Doesn't matter. You exhale. Then he rides up, fast. You barely flinch. That's the test. You passed. He leans in. You still die in battle, he says. But now, you last longer. That's praise. Out here, no one lives forever. The goal is just to live longer than the man next to you. Your Arbon nods when you return. Not with respect. With recognition. Like, yeah, you're one of us now. They don't talk much, but one passes you a flask. You drink. It tastes like spoiled milk and fuel. You drink anyway. You wipe your mouth. Blood from your lip, new crack. You laugh. It feels real. Like maybe for the first time since joining, you're not pretending. You look at your bow, at your hands, at the way they move without you asking them to. You used to think strength was muscles. Now you know it's pain remembered. Pain built into the rhythm of your body until it becomes skill. That's what training is. Brutality with a purpose. The next day you ride again. New drills. New targets. New scars. You don't complain. You don't think. You don't hesitate. You fire. You ride. You survive. And the man with the whip? He doesn't hit you anymore. Now he just watches. Because now, finally, you're worth watching. The stars are bright tonight. Too bright. They don't twinkle. They glare. Cold little eyes hanging above the step like they're watching for weakness. You lie on your back, arms folded across your chest, staring up. You haven't blinked in a while. Not sure you remember how. Your lashes are crusted with dust and dried sweat. Your helmet's off. Your bow is nearby, always nearby. You haven't slept in 20 hours. Not because you're not allowed. Because you can't. Out here, on the steppe, the sky never sleeps. And neither do you. Your horse snorts beside you. Not loud, just enough to remind you it's real. Warm. Breathing. Still alive. That makes two of you. You roll to your side, groan. Everything hurts in layers. There's the surface pain scratches, bruises, cuts. Then the muscle pain soreness from riding, climbing, pulling. And under that, the bone pain. The ache that never goes away. The kind that feels like your skeleton is trying to give up before your skin does. You sit up. There's no fire tonight. Fires mean visibility. Visibility means arrows. Instead, you shiver. The cold out here isn't dramatic. It doesn't bite your nose or turn your fingers blue. It sinks into you, quietly, patiently. It waits in your lungs and bones and teeth. You don't notice it until your hands stop responding, until your knees stop locking. You pull your cloak tighter. Doesn't help. Just feels like an apology from a dead friend. Batar's nearby, sleeping sitting up, sword across his lap, head tilted at an angle that would snap your neck. He's resting with one eye open. He taught you that trick. Sleep, he said. But not all of you. You tried. You failed. Now you don't sleep either. You scan the horizon, flat, black, dotted with brush and ghosts. You hear things out here. Not voices, suggestions. A whisper that might be wind. A rustle that might be a rider. A snap that might be the end. You've trained yourself not to look every time. You'd go mad if you reacted to every sound. But sometimes you look, and sometimes someone's there. The step gives no warnings, no introductions, just sudden movement and quick death. Last week, a scout was slit open less than 10 feet from camp. No one heard it. They found him the next morning, eyes wide, mouth open, no blood left. Since then, no one sleeps deep. You crawl to your knees and check your horse's saddle. Everything's in place. Your water skin, your quiver, your dagger, a strip of meat that's either gone bad or never wasn't. The sky stares down. You stare back. There's no moon tonight, just stars. Millions of them. Too many. You start to count, then stop. You don't have that kind of time. Or sanity. Your breath fogs in the air like smoke. Someone stirs behind you. A cough. You freeze. It's just Gansuk, young, clumsy, always snoring like a dying ox. You sigh quietly. Too much noise invites trouble. Across the ridge there's a fire. Distant. Maybe a mile. Maybe 2. Not yours. You squint. Could be scouts. Could be a trap. Could be someone foolish enough to want warmth more than life. You don't report it. You don't chase it. If it matters, Batar will handle it. You sit again. Pull your knees to your chest. Listen. Somewhere wolves. Somewhere wind. Somewhere the sky. And beneath it all your heartbeat. Still there. Still stupid enough to keep going. You remember your first night on the step, when you were new, soft, full of questions. You asked, "Don't we post guards?" Batar looked at you like you were born yesterday. "The sky is the guard," he said. "You didn't understand. Now you do. Because the sky sees everything. It watches. It remembers. And it punishes. A shooting star streaks across the black. Fast. Angry. Gone. You whisper to yourself, "That one's got someone's name on it. Maybe yours." You adjust your cloak again. Your ribs twinge, bruised from a fall 2 days ago. You can still feel the imprint of your saddle in your spine. Your fingers twitch. Nerves? Cold? Fear? Yes. You check your bowstring. Still tight. Still dry. Still deadly. You set it beside you again, string facing up. That's something they drill into you. Never rest a bowstring in the dirt. You did it once. Once. The sting of the whip still lives behind your shoulder. Discipline doesn't fade. It brands. You lie back again. Stare at the sky. It doesn't blink. You envy that. Bata once told you the old warriors used to sleep beneath the stars to remind themselves they were ants. Ants, you asked. He nodded. Because ants don't worry about meaning. They just build, fight, die. Simple. You didn't get it then. You do now. You shift on the ground. A rock jabs your spine. You ignore it. Sleep tries to come. Just a little. Just a flicker. You shake it off. The sky doesn't sleep. So neither do you. You wake up in silence. Not peace. There's a difference. Peace is gentle, warm, lazy. This is the kind of silence that pins you down before the noise comes. The kind that creeps under your skin and whispers, "Something's wrong." You sit up, slow, careful. The others are already moving, no orders, no bugles, just motion. Quiet motion. Batar's saddle is already on. His sword's drawn but low, relaxed, like he doesn't want to startle the sky. You scan the ridge. Nothing. Just the grass, the cold, the usual weight behind your ribs. But it's different this time. Still. Too still. No wind, no birds, no hooves. The horses aren't snorting. They're frozen, ears twitching like they hear something you don't. And that's worse than screaming. You grip your bow. Instinct. You check your arrows. Muscle memory. You roll your shoulders. Nerves. Gansuk leans over. Ambush? You shake your head. Worse. Waiting. That's the part they never talk about in stories. Not the charging, not the blood. The waiting. Because right now, you're alive. And that means you still have something to lose. The silence stretches. You remember what Batar told you. The horde doesn't just attack. It looms first. Makes the enemy sweat. Makes their horses panic. Makes them wish they'd never lock their gates. That's how it works. Let the silence kill their courage. Then let the arrows kill the rest. You stand. The ground is soft, cold. It sticks to your boots like it doesn't want to let you go. You look to the east. Sunlight's rising. Not fast. Just slow enough to make you uneasy. Like the world knows what's coming and doesn't want to be responsible. A rider appears on the horizon. One rider, galloping, straight toward you. You don't flinch, but you feel it the ripple through the Arban. Bows lift. No orders, just instinct. The rider pulls up 20 paces out, horse steaming, chest heaving. He speaks to Batar, fast. Too fast for you to catch all of it. But you hear enough. Garrison, fortified, stubborn. Of course. The worst kind. Batar nods once. Then rides down the line. Form up, he says. That's all. You mount. No armour adjustments, no pep talk, no good luck charm. You just mount. Your thighs scream. You ignore them. Your breath clouds in front of you. You ride through it. The world narrows. The line stretches wide, too wide to count. 10 men, hundreds, maybe thousands. No drums, no horns, no shouting. Just hooves. Thousands of hooves moving at once. And the sound? Still not thunder. Not yet. Because thunder comes after the lightning. And the horde? The horde is lightning. You crest the ridge and see it. The town. Stone walls. Wooden roofs. Smoke curling from chimney stacks like they still think they're safe. You almost feel sorry for them. Almost. Then you remember the last village. The burning. The crying. The smell. And you grip your bow tighter. They chose this. They refused tribute. They knew what was coming. Now you're here. The wind returns, just a little. Enough to carry the scent of dust and arrogance. You stop. So does everyone else. 1 mile out. Still no noise. Your horse shifts, senses it. You inhale. And you wait. Because this is the moment that matters. Not the charge. Not the fire. The pause. The breath the world takes before it drowns in sound. You feel your heartbeat. Steady. Slower than before. You've learned that trick. Slow heart, fast hands. You glance at Batar. He lifts one hand. Just one. Then drops it. The thunder begins. But it's not hooves. It's arrows. Launched from hundreds of bows in perfect timing. You don't even remember drawing, you just release. The sky turns black. You hear it before you see it, that distant snap of wood hitting wood, then wood hitting flesh. You don't watch. You're already moving, galloping, screaming. The thunder now is hooves. Yours. Everyone's. The ground quakes beneath you. The silence is gone, ripped away like a veil. Now there's only motion, dust, roars, cries. You fire again. Don't know if it hits. Don't care. You pull another. Fire again. The wall's closer now. Crossbows fire back. You duck. Someone falls beside you. Doesn't matter. The horde doesn't pause for the dead. You're at the outer gate now. And now the thunder becomes everything. Screaming steel. Splintered doors. Sparks where blades kiss stone. You leap off your horse and hit the ground running. You climb. Kick. Slash. Someone grabs your leg. You drive a knife through their throat. Not clean. Not pretty. Just done. You vault over the burning gate. The world inside is chaos. And you're part of it. You loose another arrow. You stab with your secondary blade. You kick. You spit. You scream. The silence is a memory now. A ghost. You don't miss it. You don't want it back. Because here, in the storm of violence and fury and motion, you make the noise now. And they'll never forget it. You haven't eaten in 36 hours. Maybe 40. You lost track somewhere between the third kill and the second fire. Somewhere between scaling the wall and puking behind a burning stable because your body finally realised what your eyes were seeing. Your stomach doesn't growl anymore. It aches, quiet, hollow, like an empty drum that forgot how to sound. But your horse is fed. Of course it is. That's the first rule out here. Horses eat, men don't. Because if the horse dies, you die. You can't run faster than the enemy. You can't carry your gear across the steppe. You can't shoot from a standstill and expect to live long enough to regret it. The horse is your lungs, your legs, your heartbeat at 40 kilometers an hour. You'd trade your own life for its hooves, and some of you already have. So when the village falls and the loot's being sorted and the women are weeping and the last arrow's been loosed, you don't look for food. You look for fodder. Hay, millet, dried barley, whatever the villagers kept for their animals. You find it. You pile it. You feed the horse. You watch it chew with slow, rhythmic indifference like it didn't just trample a man into paste 4 hours ago. You envy it. Then you check your saddlebag. A flask of fermented mare's milk. 2 hard biscuits, one soaked in blood, not yours. And a strip of something dry and grey. Might be meat, might be leather. You chew it anyway. It tastes like regret. Your teeth don't like it, your gut doesn't trust it. Your brain says don't, but your body overrides the vote. You force it down, bite, swallow, wince. There's no water. Not clean anyway. The well was poisoned. On purpose. A final insult from the dead. So now it's animal skins or rainwater. You squeeze your water skin, half full, still warm. You sip. It tastes like copper and mould. You sip again. Across the ruins, someone's roasting something. You don't ask what. You don't want to know. Sometimes it's goat. Sometimes it's not. A boy from your Arbon is skinning a rabbit. His hands shake, he nicks his thumb. Blood drips onto the hide. He curses. You offer a rag. He doesn't thank you. Nobody says thank you anymore. You watch the sky. Grey. Low, close. The kind of sky that presses down, like it wants to bury you alive. You breathe through your mouth. The air stinks of ash and wet fur and shattered walls. You turn away. You find a quiet corner behind a charred fence, near a broken wagon. You sit, back against the wood. You take off your gloves, fingers cracked, blistered, nails black with blood and grit. You unwrap a strip of cloth from your hand, check the wound underneath. Still closed, still angry, still red. You wrap it again. Your horse finishes eating. It snorts, looks at you, like it's asking, now what? You don't answer, because you don't know. You hear laughter somewhere. Not joy, madness. It happens after battles, when the adrenaline wears off and the silence creeps back and someone remembers they're still alive. They laugh like it's a betrayal. You get it. You lean your head back. Close your eyes. Try to picture a meal, not a snack. A meal. Bread. Hot. Soft in the middle. Meat. Tender. Spiced. Not burned. Cheese. Real cheese. A table. A chair. A bowl. You open your eyes. It's gone. All of it. The only cheese here smells like feet and war. The bread is hard enough to kill someone with. The meat has teeth marks in it from a man who didn't wait for it to cook. You bite the biscuit. It crumbles like chalk and gravel. You eat it anyway, because you have to. Because tomorrow is another ride, another run, another hill that doesn't care if your stomach's empty. You swallow, choke, cough, spit out blood. You wipe your mouth, your lips split again. You check the sky, still grey, still nothing. You stand, your knees creak, your back pops. You grab the reins. Your horse nudges you. It wants more feed. You don't have any. You whisper, "Me too." It doesn't understand. It doesn't have to. Because tomorrow, it gets fed first again. And you get whatever's left. If anything, the bow isn't a weapon. It's a punishment. You learn that fast. Faster than you'd like. The first time you pull it, your fingers scream. The tendons in your forearm feel like they're tearing away from the bone. Your shoulders shake. Your elbow fights back. And that's without firing. You thought archery was elegant, precise, something from paintings and poems. You imagined calm breaths, slow motion, arrows soaring like poetry. Wrong. A Mongol bow is violence in tension, strung tight with sinew, backed with horn, short and ugly and shaped like a question that ends with a corpse. There's no poetry here, only pain. The first time you actually shoot it from horseback, it nearly pulls your shoulder out of the socket. You miss the target by 15 meters and clip your own horse's flank. The horse doesn't flinch. You do. Batar laughs. First time you've heard him make a sound that wasn't a grunt or an insult. Your arms are too soft, he says. Your eyes are too slow. He's not wrong. You train anyway, because there's no other option. You draw again, and again, and again, until your fingertips are blistered and your shoulders are on fire and the world blurs every time you breathe. You learn to keep the bow tight against your body, to lean into the draw, to let the pressure run through your spine instead of resisting it. You learn to shoot right-handed and left-handed, forward and backward, standing and moving and falling and bleeding. You learn to reload without looking. You learn to feel the arrow find its home in the notch by sound, not sight. You miss. A lot. Sometimes it's close. Sometimes it's not. Batar doesn't shout. He just hands you another bow. Heavier. Worse. "Try this one," he says. You want to say no. You don't. You pull. The string bites your fingers. You fire. It flies straight. Misses the target. Hits a tree behind it. You nod. Once. He nods back. It's the closest thing to a compliment you've gotten in weeks. Your arms are shaking now. Not just fatigue tremors, deep in the muscle, like the meat inside your body is trying to quit. You tie your fingers with cloth. It barely helps. You smear horse fat on your knuckles. Burns at first, then goes numb. You fire again, and again, and again, until the bow doesn't feel like a stranger anymore. It feels like a scar. And still it's not enough. Because firing from the ground is one thing. Firing from a moving horse, that's a whole new form of misery. You start with a trot. Bounce, bounce, fire. Miss. Then a gallop. Everything blurs. Your hands are slick with sweat or blood. You're not sure anymore. The bowstring snaps back and slices your forearm open. You bandage it. Keep going. You're told to shoot in rhythm with your horse's stride in the moment between impact, when the hooves are mid-air and your body's floating. It lasts half a heartbeat. That's all you get. A breath. A blink. You have to feel it. Not time it. Feel it. You miss again. And again. Then once. You don't. The arrow flies like it's been waiting for this. It slams into the target a shield painted like a man. Centre mass. You almost don't believe it. You reload, fire again. Second arrow hits the edge. Still good. Still real. You glance at Bertar. He doesn't smile, but he nods. Again. You ride back, arms shaking, mouth dry, heartbeat in your throat. He hands you a skin of fermented milk. You drink. It tastes like victory and curdled spit. You drink anyway. You sleep that night with your bow beside you, strung, ready, like it's part of you now. Like if someone took it away, you'd lose more than a weapon. You'd lose yourself. Because this bow, it's not just a tool, it's a test. And if it doesn't break first, you will. But until then, you keep drawing, keep loosing, keep aiming for a silence only a kill can bring. Keep telling yourself you're a fighter, a warrior, a soldier, part of the greatest cavalry the world has ever known. But that's a lie. And deep down, you know it. You're not a warrior. You're meat on the hoof, a warm body in a leather coat, another set of hands to hold a bow, another set of lungs to fill with dust. You were never chosen. You were counted. 1 of 10, 1 of 100, 1 of many. Replaceable. Forgettable. Disposable. The Horde doesn't need you. It needs your horse, your speed, your silence, your ability to die without complaint. That's the real skill out here. Obedience. Not valor, not glory, not honor. Efficiency. You're a cog in a wheel that never stops turning, and if you crack, they'll swap you out before the blood dries. That's how Bertar explains it. Warriors die. Tools get sharpened. You asked him once, quietly, what happens when the tool breaks. He said, then the next one learns not to. You didn't ask again. You don't need to. Because now when you ride, no one looks at your face. They look at your quiver, your draw, your mount's stamina, your timing. They assess you like livestock. And you do the same. You look at your Arbon and think, he'll fold when the arrows come. He's too slow to reload. That one's too soft. That one might last. You don't mean to think that way, but you do. It's survival. You watch your own hands now like they're someone else's. Watch them wrap reins, knock arrows, strip meat, choke out men twice your size. You wonder when they stop being yours. You ride through another conquered village. This one didn't fight. Didn't resist. It begged. Didn't matter. Still burned. You were told to check the perimeter. You did. You saw an old man trying to bury a bundle in the earth near a tree. You rode over. Drew your blade. He flinched. You kicked the dirt aside. It wasn't treasure. It was a baby. Breathing. You didn't kill it. You didn't help it either. You left it there. Because you're not a man with choices. You're a part of a machine. A warm body on a warm horse with cold orders. Bertar once told you, mercy is the first step toward betrayal. You asked, betrayal of who? He didn't answer. You think you know now. yourself. You don't flinch when the fire starts anymore. You don't look away when the villagers scream. You don't ask where the horses go when you're told to dismount. You don't ask anything, because questions get you noticed. And out here, noticed means tested, and tested means pain. So you keep quiet. You eat your ration, dry, rotten. You wrap your feet, again. You sharpen your knife. You nod when spoken to. And you don't talk back, because you're not a leader. You're not a champion. You're not the hero of a story. You're the silhouette in someone else's nightmare. You ride out. You kill. You return. You do it again. And if you're lucky, you do it again tomorrow. Because the truth is simple. You're not here to be remembered. You're here to function. And if you function long enough, you get to see the next fire. If not, no one notices. Not really. The horse gets reassigned. The arrows get picked up. Your cloak gets cut into rags. Your name? Forgotten before the sun sets. Because in the Mongol horde, you're not a warrior. You're meat on the hoof. And the butcher always rides behind you. This isn't a battlefield. It's a graveyard without the graves. Welcome to the steppe. Endless, open, unforgiving. You ride through it day after day and still you don't find the edge because there isn't one. Just dirt, grass, sky, repeat. You thought deserts were empty. You were wrong. This place isn't empty, it's waiting. Waiting to see if you belong here. Spoiler, you don't. No one belongs here. Not the farmers you burned out, not the rebels you flanked last week, not even you. You're just borrowing space. One hoof print at a time. You squint against the wind, always the wind, constant, biting, full of dust. It never stops. It gets into everything, your ears, your teeth, your bowstrings. You could drink a river and still feel thirsty. Your eyes water, not from emotion, from sand, from air that grinds like it's made of tiny blades. You blink. Doesn't help. You ride on. There are no trees, no shade, just little scrubby things that crack under your boots and offer no comfort when you try to sleep on them. You once asked Batar how many men have died out here. He looked at you, deadpan, and said, "Enough to fertilize the grass." Then he rode off. You didn't ask again. The steppe teaches you things, mostly about limits. Yours, your horses, your tolerance for hunger, for thirst, for boredom. Because that's the other enemy out here, time. Not bullets, not arrows, not even fire. Just hours. Long, dry, skin-peeling hours with nothing but your thoughts and the constant gut-deep fear that something is watching you from just beyond the heat haze. You hallucinate things. Mountains that aren't there. Shadows that move. Sometimes you think you see someone, another rider, off in the distance. You wave. They don't. Because they're not real. You don't mention it. Because once you do, it becomes real. And then you're the one that doesn't make it back. So you stay quiet. You keep your head down. Your bow ready. Your skin wrapped in layers of cloth and sweat. You count the days by how many horses you've lost. You're on your third. The first one ran until its lungs gave out. The second stepped in a marmot hole and broke its leg. You slit its throat yourself. You didn't flinch. You flinch at everything else now, but not that. Because horses are survival. And you? You're just along for the ride. Sometimes you find old bones, bleached white, scattered by wind and time. Sometimes human, sometimes not. You stop looking too closely. You stop wondering what happened to them. You know what happened. The same thing that's going to happen to you, eventually, Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon. Sooner than you want to admit. The sky here doesn't offer comfort. It presses down, like it wants to see if you'll break before sunset. It stretches wide, too wide. No cover, no ceiling, no mercy. Just clouds that don't rain and stars that don't blink. You sleep under them, night after night, wrapped in fur and dirt and silence. And still, somehow, you never feel warm. Because the cold out here isn't just temperature. It's a philosophy. You drink from shallow streams that taste like metal and rot. You eat meat so dry it feels like chewing your own tongue. You dig your own latrine. You bury your waste. Not out of hygiene, out of superstition. Because the land remembers everything. You pass another group of riders heading east. They don't wave. You don't either. Because out here, friendliness gets confused with weakness. And weakness gets corrected fast. You press on. Your legs are numb. Your throat is sandpaper. Your lips are cracked open, bleeding at the edges. Still ride. Because you're Mongol now, or trying to be. And out here, trying is the only thing keeping you out of a shallow ditch. Welcome to the steppe. Hope you brought a spare soul. You'll need it. You've never moved this fast in your life. Not on foot. Not on a horse. Not in dreams where you were weightless and free. This isn't freedom. This is war at velocity. You ride like the wind owes you something and you are here to collect. But it's not just you. It's the whole horde. Tens of thousands moving like a tide that forgot how to stop. You're told Mongol strategy is built on speed, and you believe it, because you felt it in your bones, in your teeth, in the screaming of the wind past your ears. Speed is the first strike, the knife in the dark, the panic before the blade lands. You were taught that in training. What they didn't tell you. Speed is also the curse. Because once you start riding, you don't stop. No rest. No breaks. No sleep. You eat in motion. You piss from the saddle. You pray your horse doesn't break a leg, because if it does, you're done. When the Khan says move, you move. 20 leagues in a day, maybe more. You've seen cities fall before they even knew you were coming. Villages flattened before a scout could finish lighting the warning fire. Sometimes you outrun your own messengers. You'd be impressed if you weren't so close to puking from the pain in your knees. Your legs are raw, your hips fire, your ankles feel like they've been slammed in a door. You try to shift in the saddle, doesn't help. There's no comfort here, just function. Your horse is foaming at the mouth, still moving. You whisper to it, words that aren't even words anymore. Half comfort, half apology. It doesn't understand. It keeps going. So do you. The ground blurs. You see a horizon, and then it's behind you. You see a river, and then you're through it. You see a hill, and then it's dust. It's all movement, constant, mind-numbing. Speed turns hours into fragments. You lose track of time. You lose track of meals. You lose track of yourself. There are moments you forget your own name. Moments you look down at your hands and wonder how they got covered in blood again. Moments you blink and don't remember opening your eyes again. You fall asleep riding. You dream of crashing. You wake up still moving. You're trained to switch horses mid-gallop. You've done it. Leapt from one to the next like death was chasing you and only hooves could save you. Sometimes it was chasing you. That's the other thing about speed. It works both ways. You're fast. So is the enemy. Especially when you miscalculate. Especially when you get too far ahead. Your unit rode into an ambush once. Outpaced the rear guard. Arrows came from nowhere. A man named Orogi took one in the neck. He didn't fall off. He just slumped in the saddle, eyes wide, dead before the blood hit his chest. His horse kept running, dragged his corpse another mile before anyone could stop it. You still see that sometimes? At night, the flapping of his arms. The way his fingers twitched like they were trying to hold on to life even after it slipped out of his throat. You caught up to the rest of the horde by sundown. No one asked where he was, because out here fast means first, and first often means alone. You learn not to outrun your shadow. You learn to measure distance not in miles but in chances. Chances to eat, to breathe, to not die. But still you go, still you ride, because the Khan's plan depends on motion, not mass. Mongols don't hold ground. They flow, like fire, like famine, like punishment. You are the punishment. A bolt loosed from the sky, dressed in leather and speed and pain. The enemy doesn't see your face. Just the dust cloud before you kill them. That's the power. That's the terror. But it comes with a cost. Your bones feel older than your years. Your spine is bent. Your ankles throb. Your horse is the only living thing that knows how much you're hurting. And even it looks at you like you should toughen up. You drink when you can. You eat when you can't ride anymore. You sleep when your body forces you. Sometimes mid-gallop. Sometimes mid-sentence. You wake up screaming. You don't remember why. It's always a blur now. Everything is dust and motion and noise and the burn in your thighs that never leaves. Speed is a weapon. But like all weapons, it cuts both ways. And when it cuts you, no one stops to look. They just keep riding. And if you're lucky, you ride too. It starts as a sting. Barely anything. You shift in your saddle, think it's a wrinkle in your tunic, or maybe a stone that slipped inside your boot. You ride on. Then it comes again. Sharp. Hot. Deep. You flinch. Mistake. Your horse senses it. Jolts. Almost bucks. You grab the reins, pull tight, breathe. That's when you feel it, the wetness. You look down. Dark. Not water. Not sweat. Blood. Yours. It's not pouring, not gushing, just slow, steady leaking. Somewhere under the saddle, in a thigh, right side, probably a cut from your armour, or a crack in the leather rubbed raw by days in the saddle, no rest, no pause. It's not new, it's just enough to slow you, to unbalance you, to remind you that you're not made of iron no matter how much you pretend. You clench your teeth. Keep riding, because no one stops for blood. You pass two others from your arbon. One's wheezing. The other has a bandage around his neck that's soaked red and sagging. No one mentions it. Pain isn't special out here. It's background noise. You adjust your weight, trying to shift the pressure off the wound. It works for a moment. Then it comes back. Worse. Burning. Every step your horse takes is another jab of agony. You feel the blood soak into your trousers, into the saddle. You try not to think about infection. Try not to think about how long an untreated wound has before it starts to rot. You'd ask for help if you thought anyone cared. But this isn't that kind of army. This is the kind of army that leaves you behind if you fall. So you ride. Posture stiff, face blank. Eyes forward. You bite your tongue to keep from groaning. You taste iron. You ride. Hours pass. The sun shifts overhead like it's mocking you. No clouds, no shade. Just that merciless blue and a wind that carries the stink of sweat, horsehair and blood. Your blood. You spot a stream and motion to Bata. He says nothing, just veers toward it. The others follow, You dismount slowly, carefully. Your legs wobble. You pretend they don't. You lead the horse to water, let it drink. You crouch. You don't sit. You can't. You untie your tunic and peel back the layer of cloth and hide. The cut is worse than you thought. 2 inches wide, red, swollen. The edges look like raw meat pounded flat. You wash it in the stream. It stings. You don't scream. You press cloth against it, tight. Then you bite down on your own wrist and press tighter. The world narrows to a tunnel of pain and grit and rushing water. When it passes, you breathe. Your hands are shaking. You wrap it again. Use one of your spare saddle rags. Tie it hard enough to slow the bleeding, hard enough to limp back to the horse without anyone noticing. You mount again. It takes all your strength not to groan. You ride. Later that day you feel fever coming. Not strong, just a hint. A crackling behind the eyes. A weight in the skull. Your hands feel too big. Your heartbeat is too loud. You ignore it. Because this isn't the time. This isn't ever the time. You eat something dry and bitter. Don't remember what. You sip from your flask. Tastes like bile. You sleep in shifts, half sitting, half hoping you wake up again. The cloth sticks to your wound now. You tear it free. Blood again. More than before. You press harder. You whisper, not yet. You ride. You breathe. You bleed. You don't stop. Because out here, there's no mercy. There's just blood in the saddle. And you keep riding until it's the last thing holding you upright. 12. Genghis doesn't know your name. You think about him sometimes. The Khan. Temujin. Genghis. The man who forged the horde from fire, blood and iron law. The man whose name makes empires crack and kings soil themselves. The man whose shadow stretches across half the world. He doesn't know who you are, and he never will. You're just another body in the swarm, another boot print in the mud, another face behind a bowstring. You're cannon fodder before cannon even exists. You're a thread in the great tapestry of conquest, and not even a colourful one. He doesn't care if you die. He doesn't care if you live. He cares if the mission survives. That's what loyalty means here. Not to each other. To him. To it. To the machine. You've never seen him, not even from a distance. But you've heard stories. He rides without fear. He eats last. He drinks only when the poorest man has water. They say he cried once when his horse died under him. After 50 battles. They say he executes men for cowardice with his own sword. They say he speaks softly, but when he does, men listen. They say he can smell betrayal before it happens. They say a lot of things. You don't know which ones are true. You just know this. You kill for him. And if you stop killing, you stop existing. Your orders come from someone above you, who got them from someone above them, who got them from a man on a better horse with cleaner armour and a higher chance of being remembered. Way up that ladder. At the top, the Khan. You're the dust under his boots. You want to be angry about that, but you're too tired, too busy staying alive. Too busy sharpening blades and patching wounds and pretending you're not freezing to death under a ragged cloak while 1,000 other nobodies just like you do the same. You know he's real. You feel it every time your commander says, "By the order of the Khan." That sentence is the beginning and end of every explanation. Why are we riding through snow? Khan's orders. Why are we burning a village that already surrendered? Khan's orders. Why are we killing monks, women, merchants, dogs? Orders. That's all you need to hear. You stop asking. You just obey. Because if you don't, you're already dead. Disobedience isn't punished with exile. It's punished with death. Public. Ugly. Unforgettable. You saw it once, a man who fled during a siege. Didn't even get far. They brought him back, stripped him, tied him to his own horse, let it drag him for a mile before cutting him loose and letting the vultures finish the job. Batar watched the whole thing without blinking. When it was done, he said, "Khan saw that, even if he wasn't here." You never forgot those words. They echo in your skull every time you think about turning back. So you don't. You push forward, every step, every shot, every day in the saddle, bleeding into the leather and chewing meat that tastes like sand and regret. You tell yourself it matters. That somehow, in some book no one will ever read, your name will be listed as part of the army that built an empire. You tell yourself that maybe, just maybe, the Khan does know. That he has scribes. That he reads the names of the fallen. That he sees the numbers and wonders who was that one. That soldier in the 3rd Tumen? That one who died at the river crossing? You pretend he pauses. That he grieves. That he cares. You lie to yourself so you can ride tomorrow. Because the truth, the real truth, Genghis doesn't know your name. And he never will. But you know his. You whisper it like a prayer, or a curse, or a promise. You ride for it. You kill for it. You bleed for it. And if you're lucky, you'll die for it. And no one will speak your name again. You've seen men weep. Not often, not loud, and never for long. Because tears in the Mongol horde are like weakness. Visible, unforgivable, and very, very temporary. You remember the first time it happened. A boy. Couldn't have been older than 15. His brother took an arrow through the chest during a raid. Didn't scream. Just dropped like a sack of grain. The boy ran to him, fell to his knees shaking, reached out to touch his face. Then it happened, the sound. Low. Cracked. Wounded. Not a scream, not a sob. Just that wet inhale right before the tears come. You heard it. Everyone did. And no one moved. Except Batar. He walked over, took off his glove, and slapped the boy so hard he dropped backwards into the mud. Then Batar knelt beside him, whispered something no one else could hear. The boy nodded, stood up, wiped his eyes with a blood-stained sleeve, picked up his brother's quiver, and kept moving. That was the lesson. You cry? You do it where no one can see you. Behind a horse, under a dead man, into your sleeve, or not at all, because the horde has no room for grief. Grief slows you down. Grief distracts. Grief makes you hesitate, and hesitation gets people killed, so you bury it, like everything else. You think about your own family sometimes, your mother's voice, your father's hands, the way your little sister used to laugh when she stole your boots. You try to remember her face. Sometimes you get close. Then it fades, covered in ash, buried under the sound of hoofbeats and orders and screaming. You think maybe that's a good thing. You don't want to remember too well, because remembering leads to feeling. And feeling is a risk. Feeling makes you look away when the next child cries in a burning hut. Feeling makes your hands tremble when you light the next fire. Feeling gets noticed. And once you're noticed, you're tested. And once you're tested, you're done. So you stop crying. You stop trying to cry. You train your eyes to dry themselves before the tears can fall. You train your mouth to stay shut even when your lungs want to scream. You laugh instead. A little too hard. A little too loud. The kind of laugh that sounds more like choking. Everyone does it. After the fighting ends. After the blood dries. That manic, stupid noise that says, I survived again, but I don't know why. You don't cry when your comrade dies. You don't cry when the fever takes another friend. You don't cry when your own horse limps and collapses and you're forced to slit its throat, because there's no use in carrying weakness across the next mountain. You wipe the blood off your knife. You find another horse. You keep moving. You don't cry when your hands shake at night, even though there's no enemy in sight. You tell yourself it's just the cold. It's always the cold. You wake up from dreams with your heart punching through your ribs and your breath caught in your throat. But you don't cry. You just stare at the sky. Like maybe it'll blink first. It never does. You clench your fists. You grind your teeth. You whisper prayers to dead gods in a language you barely remember. But you don't cry. Because you know what'll happen if you do. Someone will see. And the next morning, your saddle will be empty. Your name won't be spoken. Just your gear passed down to the next rider who can keep their face dry and their hands steady. Because in the Mongol horde, weeping is luxury, and you can't afford it. So, if you cry, you do it where the wind can take it, where the steppe can swallow it, where the fire can burn it before anyone sees. No one cries in the horde, not out loud. The first time was a blur. You don't even remember the man's face, just the sound. That wet, hollow crack when your blade hit bone. Your arm jerked back like the weight surprised it, like it wasn't sure it had followed your orders. And for a second, neither were you. You stood there, over a dying man with his blood crawling down your hand and dripping from your wrist like red rain. Your chest was pounding. Your ears were buzzing. You weren't sure if you'd scream or puke or drop to your knees and laugh. But you didn't. You just blinked. And it was over. That was your first kill. And no one congratulated you. There were no cheers, no slaps on the back, no victory songs or raised cups. Just more orders, another town ahead, more names to erase. And as you rode toward it, your hands still shaking, you realize something no one told you. Killing isn't the hard part. The hard part is what comes after. Because after the first time, it gets easier. Too easy. You kill a man at 20 yards with an arrow to the chest and you barely notice. You slit a throat while someone's asleep and you don't flinch. You jab a spear into a merchant's stomach because he looked at you wrong. You don't remember the colour of his eyes. You barely remember his scream. And that's the part that should scare you. Not the killing, but the forgetting. You're not supposed to forget. Not supposed to get good at it. But you do. You get so good it feels like breathing. Like blinking. A movement. A moment. And then it's done. You clean your blade. You check your bowstring. You eat. You move on. You don't even count anymore. You stopped at 16. You remember the 16th. He begged. You told yourself that made it harder. It didn't. You lied. After that it just became numbers. And then, not even that. Because eventually it's not about killing at all. It's about momentum. You're not hunting people. You're mowing them down. Fast. Efficient. Mechanical. They scream. They run. You fire. You move on. The blood is always warm. That never changes. But you do. You get colder. Quieter. Better. And no one warns you what that kind of silence does to your soul. You find yourself staring at your own hands like they belong to someone else. Someone cruel. Someone numb. You hold your dagger and feel nothing. You listen to someone beg and feel less than nothing. You hear a baby cry in a burning hut and your only thought is, did I miss a corner? You don't cry. You don't pause. You just turn your horse and ride to the next place with walls. Because you've become what the Horde wanted. Not a man, not even a soldier. A force. A shadow. A consequence. You go to sleep and see faces. Not of the people you killed. Of the ones you didn't. The ones who got away. The ones whose eyes followed you as you rode off. The ones whose silence followed you longer than their screams ever did. Those are the ghosts that cling. The ones who stare. The ones who didn't fight back. They make you ask questions. Just for a second. But even that, dangerous. So you shut them out. You sharpen your blade. You clean your bow. You braid your horse's mane with the same fingers you use to end lives. Because you know what happens if you stop. If you hesitate. If you feel, you die. Simple. You die and someone else fills your saddle. That's the truth. That's the law. You don't kill because you want to. You don't kill because you hate. You kill because if you don't, you're next. And no one mourns the one who hesitated. So you ride forward, blade ready, face blank. And every time the moment comes, you act. Not because it's easy, but because the hardest part already happened. The part where you became okay with it. You don't fight alone. That's a myth. A lie told by storytellers who never smelled burning meat or watched a friend die twitching. You fight as one of 10. You're 10 men, no more, no less. 10 mouths, 10 bows, 10 lives bound together by dirt, silence and orders. You live together. You ride together. You bleed, burn, sleep, freeze, and kill together. And if one of you breaks, you all pay. That's the rule. That's the structure. Not just because it works, because it forces loyalty. But I told you that on your first day. 10 men make you, he said. 10 men break you. You thought it was poetry. Turns out it's math. If one of you deserts, the other 9 die. If one of you disobeys, the other 9 answer for it. If one of you panics in battle and flees, all 10 are whipped, or worse. So you learn. Fast. You learn to depend on the grunt to your left and the cough behind you. You learn to read each other's eyes when you can't speak above the gallop. You learn who reloads the fastest, who's best with a blade, who can skin a goat without ruining the meat. You learn who snores, who prays, who cracks jokes to keep the dark away. You learn who's likely to lose it first, and you watch him closely. Because if he goes, you all go. There's no glory in solo acts, no rogue heroes. This isn't about you. It's about all 10. When you eat, you share. When you drink, you measure out portions with the fairness of vultures circling the same corpse. If one man's saddlebag is light, yours just got heavier. If one horse goes lame, yours runs double. No one complains. Because complaining is a weakness. And weakness isn't punished individually. It's punished collectively. That's what makes it work. That's what keeps the Horde alive. Fear. Not of the enemy, of each other. You've seen it firsthand. One of your 10, a man named Timur, froze during a siege. Couldn't loose his arrow. Stared too long at a child standing in the gate holding a torch. The kid tossed it. Boom! Half the gate burned. Delay cost the Horde a full day. That night, Batar lined up your Arben. Asked no questions. Just looked. Then he pointed to the ground. 1 arrow for each man. You all drew. 9 bows. 9 shots. 9 arrows into Timur's chest. He never made a sound. You did it because you had to, not because you wanted to. And you didn't cry, not out loud. Afterward you dug the grave together, shallow, cold, no stone. Then you rode on. No one spoke his name again. That's the price of 10. You rise together. You fall together. You all carry one another until someone slips. Then the rest drop him, fast, like a bad stirrup in battle. Cut loose, because holding on could kill you all. You remember a moment, months ago. Gansuk young, loud, always smiling with too many teeth, made a mistake during a river crossing. Lost control of his horse. Fell behind. You turned to help. Batar grabbed your reins. Leave him, he said. But he's dead. He wasn't. Not yet. You saw him climb out of the water, coughing and shaking, a cigarette. You saw him wave. You didn't wave back. You just turned. And you rode. Because Batar was right. You don't break formation for one man. Not if you want to see another day. The next night the new recruit took his place. Didn't ask questions. Just tied his gear to the same saddle. Same bedroll. Same blade. As if Gansuk had never been. That's the world you live in now. No names on headstones. No memorials. Just a hole in the line and someone else to fill it. That's the math of 10. Cold. Brutal. Unforgiving. But it works. It has to. So you fighters won. Not because you like them. Not because you trust them. But because survival doesn't ask for feelings. Only function. 10 men make you. 10 men break you. And every morning, you count them. 1, 2, 3, and pray it doesn't stop before you reach 10. It doesn't come with warning. Not a shout, not a clash, not a horn. Just absence. Like someone pulled the sound out of the world. Then a whistle. Soft, thin, almost delicate. And then someone's dead. That's how it happens out here. No build-up, no fight. Just death. Fast, silent, absolute. He used to think war was noise. Steel on steel, screaming, thunder. But the Horde taught you better. Real war is quiet. Death comes in shadows from angles you never see. You've watched men die from arrows they didn't know were coming. Heads jerking sideways, necks snapping like twigs. You've seen a man ride 5 steps before realizing his liver was gone. You've heard that sound the wet claps when lungs fill with blood. You never forget it. Sometimes you even hear it in your dreams. The worst part. You don't know where it came from. You never see the shooter. You never trace the line. Because Mongol archers don't stand and fight. They move. They vanish. They ride wide arcs, fire backward at full gallop, disappear into dust. By the time you turn your head, it's too late. Your comrade's on the ground, or your horse is falling under you, screaming with an arrow buried behind its ear. You trained for battle, for formation, for enemy lines. But what do you do when the enemy isn't there? When he rides through the wind and leaves only corpses behind? You ride with your eyes everywhere. Up, down, left, right. Even behind you, especially behind you. Because out here the enemy doesn't come from the front. He loops around. He waits for a blink. Then whispers death. You remember the first time you saw it. A rival clan ambushed your detachment. You never saw them. Just dust on the horizon. Then the man riding beside you gone. No scream, just gone. arrow through the mouth. Dropped straight off his saddle, legs tangled, body bouncing in the grass like a puppet with no strings. You froze, stared. That was your mistake. The next arrow skimmed your cheek. Burned like fire. You don't freeze anymore. You fire back, even when you can't see anything. You reload by feel, not sight. You've practiced so much you can knock an arrow faster than most people can blink. But still, sometimes it's not enough. Because the enemy doesn't play fair. The enemy knows you're tired, hungry, half blind from the wind and grit. He knows your horse stumbles. He knows your back hurts. He waits for that. He plans around it. The Mongol doctrine isn't just kill. It's kill clean. Kill without being seen. Kill first. You've used it yourself. You've been the ghost. You've loosed an arrow across a river, heard a scream, and never saw the face of the man you ended. Felt good once. Now? You don't feel it at all. Not pride. Not regret. Just procedure. Because once you see how fast death comes, you stop counting. You stop grieving. You just focus on not being the one who disappears next. Every time you hear that whistle, even when it isn't aimed at you, your blood freezes. You duck. You roll. You raise your shield even when you're sure you won't be hit. You don't look back. That's the rule. Looking back means caring. Caring means slowing. Slowing means dying. You ride with your head forward and your bow half drawn. Always. Because death doesn't wait. Death doesn't ask. Death doesn't shout. Death comes from nowhere. And if you're lucky, it misses. Today. But tomorrow it remembers. There's no such thing as a full night's sleep in the horde. Sleep is rationed like arrows, measured, controlled, cut into jagged, twitching pieces and passed around like scraps of old meat. You sleep when it's your turn. Not when you're tired, not when your body begs. When you're told. You lie down on cold ground, your bow beside you, your knife under your hand, your horse tied to your wrist with a loose loop in case something happens. Something always happens. Your dreams, fragmented, bleeding at the edges, half memory, half horror. You dream of fire, of hooves, of screams that turn into laughter. Sometimes you dream of home, then you wake up choking, because home doesn't exist anymore. Or maybe it does, just without you in it. You roll onto your side. Try to ignore the ache in your spine, the way your ribs grind when you breathe, the stiffness in your jaw from clenching it all day. You close your eyes again. Sleep. Maybe 10 minutes pass, maybe less. Then, the scream. High, sharp, animal. Not a war cry. A death cry. You bolt upright. Your heart punches your ribs. Your hand is already on the knife. The scream came from the east side of camp. You move before thinking. You run, feet bare, mouth dry, bowels clenching. You see a shape thrashing in the dark. Another man, covered in blood. You don't recognize him right away. Then you do. Jaloon, quiet fast, slept near the fire every night. Now, what's left of his face is shredded. His neck is open. Not a clean cut. Something tore it. You look around, blade ready. Movement behind a tent. Then hooves. Then nothing. Gone. Scouts say it was wolves, or bandits, or something worse. You don't ask. You just bury what's left. No words. No fire. Just dirt. Then back to sleep. Sort of. You lie back down, muscles tense. Your ears scan every rustle, every twig snap, every shift in the wind. You tell yourself to relax, but your hand stays on the knife. You have to sleep. Your body's demanding it now. Your eyes sting. Your chest trembles. Your legs spasm from exhaustion. So you close your eyes. Just for a moment. And that moment? It's the only peace you get. Until the next scream. Because there's always a next one. And the worst part? Eventually you stop reacting. You hear it and think, not me. Then you roll over. Pull the cloak tighter. Go back to sleep. If you can call it that. Because even rest here feels like war. Your dreams get darker. Your limbs get heavier. You start forgetting what deep sleep felt like. You miss blankets. You miss silence. You miss waking up without checking your limbs. Now, you sleep with one eye open, even if both are closed. Your body learns to wake at the crack of leaves, at the shift of hooves, at the change in the air that means something's coming. And when it doesn't come, you still wake up anyway, because your brain won't let you trust the quiet. Not anymore. You wake in the middle of the night gasping, your own scream echoing in your skull, only to realise it never left your mouth. You're drenched in sweat. Freezing. You look around. The others sleep. Or fake it. Everyone hears everything. No one admits it. You lie back down. The ground presses into your spine like it's trying to remind you what pain is. You curl into it. Welcome it. Because if you're hurting, you're not dead. Yet. You fall asleep. Finally. Then the wind shifts. And you wake. Again. Always. You sit by the fire, but you don't feel warm. Not really. Not where it counts. The flames crackle, spit, dance, but they don't reach inside you. They don't chase away the cold that's taken root behind your ribs and along your spine. This fire is light, not heat. It cooks, it burns, it blinds, but it doesn't comfort. Because out here, nothing comforts. You used to sit by fires and talk, laugh, stretch your legs, tell stories that didn't end in blood. Now, you stare, blank, silent. The meat turns on the spit, dry and slow, dripping fat into the coals. The others hunch around it, hollow-eyed, shivering even under furs. Someone mutters a prayer. Another one hisses for him to shut up. You don't speak. You just watch. The fire is shared but not friendly. It's a line, a barrier. You're all gathered around it, but no one is close. No one looks each other in the eye, because fire reflects faces too clearly, and nobody here wants to see what's really staring back. You warm your hands over the coals. They tremble, not from cold, from memory. Your knuckles are cracked, one split open, black around the edge. Infection? Probably. You flex it. You don't wince. You can't afford to. You glance across the flame. A body's curled up on the far side, sleeping. Maybe. Maybe not. He hasn't moved in hours. You think about checking. You don't. Because if he's dead, you don't want to be the one to say it out loud. You just want to eat and keep moving. The fat drips again, hisses, sizzles. It smells like survival. You take your share when it's handed to you. No questions. No delay. You chew fast like someone's going to take it back. You don't taste it. You just swallow. It hits your stomach like a rock. You nod once. Enough. The others eat in silence. There's no conversation anymore. Just the occasional cough, the scraping of a blade, the soft clink of a bowl. Once fires were sacred. Now, they're just function. Fuel. A flicker in the dark that says we're still here, but just barely. You throw a stick on the flames. It pops, sparks rise. You watch them float upward, tiny embers fighting the night, flickering like stars that forgot how to shine. You wonder what the sky looked like before war. You wonder if the fire ever felt warm to the men who came before you. You wonder if you ever felt it, really felt it, like peace, like safety. You don't remember. Maybe you never did. The warmth now is only skin deep, temporary, gone the moment you stand. You dry your boots beside the flame. The leather curls, stiffens. You don't care. Your socks are still damp. They'll stay that way. Everything does eventually. Damp, heavy, cold. You poke the fire with a stick. Shift the coals. Pretend you're doing something useful. Pretend you're not just passing the time until your shift ends. Because once it does, you'll lie down beside this dying heat and close your eyes and pretend you're not freezing to death inch by inch. You'll tell yourself this fire is enough, that you'll wake up warm. But you won't. You never do. You wake up stiff, sore, still shivering, still hungry, still too tired to scream. Because the fire doesn't warm you anymore. It just gives you something to stare at so you don't stare inside yourself. And maybe that's all it's good for. A distraction. A dance of light in a world made of dark. You blink. The flame flickers. You feel nothing. Not really. Just the memory of heat and the ache where it used to live. You don't ride the horse. You become the horse. That's what they told you on day one. You thought it was poetic. It wasn't. It was literal. Because out here, your horse isn't just transportation. It's not just a tool. It's your heartbeat. When it falters, you die. When it falls, you fall. When it runs, you live. You wake up beside it, sleep curled against its ribs. Listen to its breathing like it's your own lungs. You watch its legs like you'd watch a comrade's blade hand, sharp, fast, irreplaceable. You smell its sweat and you know what the day is going to be. Tired? The ride will be hard. Anxious? Ambush coming? Too quiet? Something's wrong. You trust the horse before you trust your own eyes. Because your horse doesn't lie to you. It only gives what it has: speed, power, fear, fatigue. And you give it everything in return. You feed it before yourself. Water it first. Brush it down with raw, cracked hands when your own face hasn't seen clean water in days. Because if it breaks, you're meat. Not a rider, not a warrior. Just a man on foot in a world made for cavalry. You know what happens to foot soldiers in the horde? They don't get names. They get buried. So you ride carefully. Not slow, never slow, but with care. You adjust the saddle every morning. Check the hooves every night. Talk to it when no one's listening. Whisper things you wouldn't say to another human being. Because your horse hears you. And sometimes, that's all you need. It carried you through your first battle, when your hands were shaking and your bowstring was slick with sweat. You gripped the saddle horn like it was a lifeline. Your horse didn't flinch, didn't panic, just moved. Right through arrows, blood, fire, screaming, like it had done this before. And it had. More than you. Probably more than most of the men riding beside you. Your first kill came from its back. Your first wound, too. Your blood soaked into its flank. Didn't shy away. It didn't throw you. It just kept moving. That's when you knew. You're not riding it. It's carrying you. Through war. Through sleep. Through 1,000 places without names and 100 where you left nothing but ash. You've had others. Before. One died of exhaustion. Another broke its leg in a sinkhole. You put it down yourself, eyes open, breath warm, and your knife under the chin. You didn't cry, but you didn't speak for 2 days after. The new one is younger, faster, meaner. It bites sometimes. You let it. You don't trust an animal that never bites. Because out here, everything bites eventually. You ride together, eat together, bleed together. You smell like each other now. You move in rhythm. You don't even think about it anymore. You shoot from its back like it's an extension of your arm. You feel the moment its breath quickens. You know the instant it's about to lunge. You sense when it's afraid before it moves, before it bucks, before it screams. And when it does, you calm it, or die trying. Because a panicked horse is more dangerous than the enemy. A scared horse runs you straight into an arrow. A loyal one gets you out of it. Your horse has saved your life more times than any man in your arban. And that's not disrespect. It's just truth. You've seen warriors scream for help while their friends watched from behind shields. But a horse, it turns when you tug. It runs when you ask. It falls under you so you don't take the spear. And if it gets up again, you ride. You keep riding. Because this animal is your last line of life in a world where death rides faster than reason. You love it. You'll never say that out loud. Not here, not in the horde, but you do. The kind of love born from desperation, dependence, and dirt. The kind that doesn't need words. Just motion. Just breath. Just one more day together on this godless steppe. You check your gear before every ride, but you check the horse first. Because your armor's replaceable, your saddle's replaceable. You, replaceable. But your horse is your heartbeat. And when it stops, so do you. You thought the enemy would look different. Bigger, uglier, less human. But when the helmets come off and the screams stop echoing, they look like you. Same eyes, same blood. Same dirt smeared across the same terrified faces. You see it again and again. Men on walls, men in fields, men in temples holding spears with shaking hands. They fight like you. They bleed like you. And when they burn just like you. Same colour flames, same pitch of screaming. You thought that would make it easier. It doesn't. It just makes it harder to lie to yourself. Because the enemy isn't a monster. He's just someone caught on the other side of your arrow. You kicked in a door once. Found a man and his son hiding under a table. They didn't move. Didn't speak. Didn't fight. You hesitated. Only for a second. Just a breath. Then someone behind you shouted, and you remembered who you were. You left the fire to do the work. You didn't watch, but you still hear it. That moment broke something in you. Or maybe it revealed what was already broken. You realized you weren't a hero. You weren't justice. You were a match someone else struck. And now you don't hesitate. Not because you're braver. Because you've stopped thinking. You ride into a village and don't look at the faces anymore. You shoot before you ask. You throw torches with your left hand while your right draws your bow. You say it's survival. You say it's war. But you know the truth. They burn like you do. And if you let yourself feel that, you won't be able to keep doing this. So you numb it. Every day. You numb the screams with laughter. You drown the guilt with meat and blood and silence. You whisper the same excuse Batar gave you months ago. They do the same to us. But you're not sure that's true. You've seen their homes, their temples, their families. You've seen what they protect. It's not conquest, it's existence. And you're the reason it ends. You used to think war was about right and wrong. Now you know it's about speed. Who strikes first? Who leaves last? You look at the enemy and you don't see a villain. You see a man who loved the wrong border, worshipped the wrong god, spoke the wrong dialect when the scouts came. That's all it takes. One wrong birth and you're the next body in a ditch. You've seen the enemy hold his dying brother, seen him whisper something before drawing a knife and charging your line alone. You didn't respect him then. You do now, because when you strip it all away, the banners, the orders, the lies, he was you. A body on a horse with too much fear and too little choice. A soul wrapped in leather pretending to be steel. You know how he smells when he burns. You know how he falls when the blade goes in deep. You know the way his legs twitch when the blood stops feeding the brain. And you still shoot, still strike, still ride over his bones like they're part of the road. Because if you stop even for a second, you join him. That's the rule. That's the trap. You burn him today or you burn tomorrow. There is no third option. So you keep riding, keep killing, keep pretending the smoke doesn't smell familiar. But it does. You know it does. Because the enemy burns like you do. And one day, when your luck runs out, some other rider will watch you fall and think the same thing. They say the war ends eventually. That someday you'll ride home. Hang up your bow, remove your armour, sleep on a bed instead of dirt. They say you'll be whole again, but deep down, even if you never say it out loud, you know, that's a lie. Because no one comes back the same. No one. Not the killers. Not the survivors. Not even the ones who never lifted a blade but still watched the world burn around them. And you're not even sure which of those you are anymore. You don't remember the last time your hands were clean. Not just from blood, from purpose. Everything you touch now is part of the machine. Part of the fire. Part of the endless, grinding hunger that calls itself conquest. When you started, you thought you'd return someday with pride. Stories. Glory. Maybe scars, but ones you'd wear like medals. Now, you can't even picture your old face. Your reflection looks like someone else. Someone harder, colder, hungrier. And that someone, he doesn't fit back into your old life. He wouldn't know what to do in a quiet room. Wouldn't know how to answer questions without scanning for exits. Wouldn't sleep without a knife in reach and one eye half open. You walk differently now, eat differently. Trust no one who hasn't killed beside you. You laugh less. You don't sing. You flinch when a pot boils too loud. You count every step between you and the door. You forget how to say, "I'm sorry." Because here, sorry gets you killed. You come back with a different language in your bones, one built from silence, threats and scars. And when people back home speak of love and peace and comfort, you nod, you smile, you lie. Because they wouldn't understand the things you've done. They couldn't. You've ridden through cities that no longer exist. You've buried your brothers and not remembered their names. You've watched children beg with their hands out and eyes already dead. And then you rode on. You tell yourself it wasn't you, that you would just follow orders, that you had to. But the weight doesn't care. It settles in your spine, your teeth. Your nightmares are maps drawn in screams and fire and faces that never leave you. And when you do return, if you return, you won't know what to do with yourself. The walls will feel too close, the silence too loud. the food too rich, the people too soft, they'll ask, "What was it like?" You'll think of rivers filled with blood, of friends you left behind in pieces, of the way your hands moved on their own because you were too tired to think but too trained to stop. But you won't say any of that. You'll shrug, "It was fine." And then you'll walk away. Because you don't want to remember. Because if you remember too hard, it might drag you back. And part of you never left. That part will always ride. Always sleep with one ear open. Always look at strangers and see targets first. Always smell fire when it's just cooking meat. Always flinch at children running too fast because your brain thinks ambush before it thinks game. That's what the Horde does. It rewires you, breaks you, rebuilds you. Not as a man, but as a tool. And when the war finally ends, they don't tell you how to stop being one. So no, you won't come back the same. You'll come back quieter, harder, colder. And the people who loved you, they'll look in your eyes and realize something's gone. And they'll never get it back. Because the Horde took it. Because war took it. Because you gave it away, one arrow, one scream, one fire at a time. And even now, even knowing all this, if they called you tomorrow, said there was another campaign, another city, another ride, you'd go. Not because you want to, because it's all you know. And you're not who you were. Not anymore. You're what the step made, and no one comes back the same. You were told conquest would feel like triumph, like banners flapping, like cheers rising from the dust, like standing on the walls of a broken city and knowing it was you who broke it. They said you'd feel strong, that you'd feel more powerful, more respected, more alive. But they lied. Conquest doesn't feel like that. It feels like hunger. It feels like emptiness you can't fill no matter how many cities you ride through. No matter how many men you kill, no matter how many fires you light, you stand now at the edge of a village that no longer has a name. You don't remember what it was called. No one does, because it doesn't matter anymore. The people are gone. The streets are ash. The air is still warm from the flames. And you're still holding the torch. You look down at your hands. Soot. Blood. Blisters. They don't look like hands anymore. They look like tools, like things used to erase lives. You step over a body. You don't flinch. You move past a half-burned shrine. You don't look back. You've done this before. You'll do it again. And the whole time a part of you keeps whispering, "This is it. This is conquest." But you don't feel bigger. You feel smaller. Like there's less of you now. Like every mile adds weight to your shadow, not your glory. You thought conquest would feel like rising. Instead, it feels like sinking. Deeper into something dark and heavy and unrelenting. It feels like repetition. Like riding into another town that looks just like the last. Like hearing another language you don't understand. Like seeing another child pulled behind a broken wall, too scared to scream. It feels like smoke. In your lungs, in your eyes, in your soul. You told yourself once that this was for the Empire, for Genghis, for the future. But that future never comes. There's always another enemy, another map to redraw, another border to push outward with steel and fire. And after a while the victories blur together. The names of cities mean nothing. The colours of banners mean less. All you remember is the ride, the fire, the silence after. That's conquest. Not the glory songs or the carvings on palace walls. Not the titles, not the loot, not the stories told years later. Just the ride. Just the echo of hooves over dead ground. The stink of burning wood and burning hair and burning hope. And the part of you that still waits for it to feel different. But it never does. You killed a garrison last week. 50 men, maybe more. They stood their ground. Fought to the last. It was over in an hour. Afterward, someone asked if it felt good. You looked at them. Didn't speak. Because if you have to ask, you've never done it. You've never stood over bodies and tried to remember who swung first. You've never stepped over men you used to eat with. You've never watched the wind scatter the ashes of a city you can't pronounce. That's conquest. Not the banners, the ashes, not the songs, the silence that follows, not the power, the cost. You mount your horse, the others follow. The road ahead is black with soot. You don't ask where you're going. You already know. Somewhere that hasn't burned yet. And when you get there, you'll do it again. Because that's what conquest feels like. Not pride, not power, not peace. Just fire. And the numbness that comes after. You haven't seen rain in weeks, maybe months. The ground has turned to cracked leather. Your lips bleed when you yawn. Your horse's breath rasps dry through its nostrils like a forge bellows. The steppe thirsts. You thirst. Then, without warning, it happens. A drop, then another. Then a shiver down your spine because for a moment you don't trust it. You look up. The sky opens. Rain. Actual rain. You'd almost forgotten the sound. Not just water hitting the ground, water hitting everything. Your helmet. Your saddle. Your skin. Like the earth is trying to wash the blood off. You close your eyes and let it hit you. Hard. Cold. Unapologetic. But this isn't relief. This isn't mercy. This is the sky reminding you it's still in charge. Because Mongols fear no army, no city, no god. But when the sky opens, you listen. Your gear soaks instantly. Bowstrings slacken, tents collapse, fires hiss out like dying breath. Your boots squish with every step. The dirt turns to sucking mud. Your horse struggles for footing, snorting and lurching under you. The cold sets in quickly, not just skin deep. It goes for the bones, for the soul. You used to believe rain would feel like cleansing you. It doesn't. It feels like drowning while standing. You look at the men around you. No one smiles. Not one face shows joy. They know better. Because water, out here, is as deadly as fire. You've seen men get hypothermia in summer storms. You've seen wagons sink axle deep and never come back out. You've seen arrows fail because the feathers were soaked. And worse, you've seen men soften, get slow, let the wet make them forget. That's when the ambushes happen. In rain like this, when sound is swallowed, when eyes can't see more than 10 feet ahead, when blades slip and screams go unheard. So you don't relax. Not even now. Especially not now. You pull your cloak tighter. Your hands go numb. You keep moving. Because stopping is worse. You tell yourself it'll pass. That the sun will return. That this water too will find a place to drain. But it doesn't. It keeps falling. The kind of storm that soaks you to your bones and asks what's left underneath. You think about fire, about how badly you want one, but you know it won't light. Not today. Not in this. You won't sleep tonight. No one will. The horde will just keep moving through mud and mist and misery. Because to stop is to freeze. To stop is to sink. So you ride. And the rain rides with you. You stop feeling your fingertips after an hour. Your thighs are raw from soaked leather rubbing against skin. Your saddle creaks like it's begging to fall apart. Still, you press on. Because no one wants to be the one who quits in the rain. The others will remember, even if they don't say it. Even if they're just as soaked. Just as cold. The rain brings silence. Not peace. A dead silence. The kind that presses against your ears like a scream just before it happens. You feel it now, in your gut. Something coming. Something waiting behind the next ridge. Behind the next sheet of water. Because this is a curtain. And on the other side could be anything. Enemy. Ambush. Or worse, your own thoughts. You ride harder to outpace them. You shift in your saddle, trying to shake the wet out of your boots. It doesn't work. Nothing works. Because the rain doesn't care. It's not here for you. It's here for itself. A force. Like fire. Like steel. Like Genghis. Indifferent. Unstoppable. And when it's done, it won't leave you cleaner. Just colder. You won't be reborn. Just wetter. Just heavier. Just more tired than before. Because when the sky opens, it's not mercy. It's just another kind of punishment. Another test. Another weight. And all you can do, ride through it. You used to think death came in the fight, at the sharp end of a blade, at the split second before an arrow kissed your throat. You thought war meant dying with your sword drawn, eyes wild, chest heaving, surrounded by glory and smoke and screams. It doesn't. It never did. That's just the version they tell the next batch of fools before sending them to the steppe. The truth? You don't die in battle. You die on the way there. Piece by piece. Mile by mile. Quiet. Rotting slow. It starts in your feet. From the cold. The walking. The riding. The way your boots stay wet longer than your socks ever stay dry. You get sores. Then blisters. Then wounds. Then infection. And one day you look down and realise you've been limping for a week and can't remember which leg it started in. Then it's your back. From the saddle. From sleeping on stones. From carrying the same pack for a month and a half without a real rest. Every bone shifts wrong. Every joint snaps when you roll over. Then it's your mind. That's the quietest part. The most dangerous. You stop feeling tired. Not because you've rested. Because exhaustion becomes normal. You start seeing things. Shapes in the trees. Sounds that aren't there. Voices you know are dead. You ride past a bush and you swear it whispered your name. You shake it off. But it stays with you. Because out here, the road to battle is longer than the fight itself. The enemy doesn't have to kill you. The journey will. You've seen it. A man from your Arban thick, strong, twice your size fell off his horse one morning and couldn't get back up. Not because he was wounded. Because he was done. Eyes glassy. Skin grey. Body alive. Soul somewhere else. He wasn't even 30. You called his name. No answer. You waved your hand in front of his face. Nothing. He just sat there, slack-jawed like the wind had hollowed him out. You rode on, because what else could you do? You've seen fevers take men the day before a siege. Seen horses collapse from hunger before they ever reached the gate. Seen men stabbed in the stomach by falling from their own saddle. One caught his foot in the stirrup and the horse dragged him for a mile before anyone could stop it. His face was gone by the time it ended. That was 3 days before the real fighting even began. And that's the trick no one tells you. The road is the real killer. Not the swords, not the enemies, not the fire. It's the march, the cold, the silence, the wait, the waiting. You die waiting for the next thing to go wrong, waiting for a wheel to break, a storm to roll in, a ration to spoil, a cough to turn into blood on your hand. You don't even notice it at first. You think you're fine, until you wake up and you're not. Until the man beside you doesn't wake up at all. Until you go to draw your bow and your shoulder doesn't respond. Until you try to speak and your throat won't open. Then you realise you've been dying for days, maybe weeks, maybe since your first ride. And battle, that's just the finish line, if you make it there. Because most don't. Most never get the chance to fight. They rot in wagons, they fall in rivers, they vanish into the dust, and no one remembers their names. There's no glory in that. Just silence. Just the road. Just the slow unravelling of what used to be a man. That's what they don't tell you. That the Horde doesn't lose men in war. It loses them in motion. In the cold before the fire. In the march before the storm. In the silence before the scream. You don't die in battle. You die on the way there. You've met strong men. Real ones. Not loud, not tall. Not polished steel and polished words. They smell like smoke. And they don't say much. You never notice them at first. They don't bark orders or raise fists. They don't carve notches in their swords for every kill. They don't boast at fireside or chew meat louder than necessary. They just exist. Solid, present, unmoving. When things go bad, and they always go bad, they're the ones who don't panic. Their hands stay still while others scream. Their eyes scan while yours blink. You've seen a man like that stand over a broken bridge, arrow in his thigh, blood down his shin, and say, "We go around." No emotion, no doubt, just clarity. That's what strength is here. Not force, control. The strong aren't the ones swinging hardest. They're the ones who choose when to swing. You remember one. Name was Ordian. Big man, shoulders like oxen, beard like rope, barely spoke above a whisper. You rode next to him for 2 weeks without hearing more than a grunt. Then one night an argument broke out over water. 2 men drew blades. Ordian didn't raise his voice. Didn't threaten. He just walked between them. Looked at the ground. Said one word. Stop. They stopped. Both of them. Not because they were scared, but because when he spoke it felt like the wind had paused to listen. You respected that. You feared it too. Because strength like that isn't learned. It's carved. By time, by loss. By carrying things that would crush most men. The strong carry silence like it's armour. They don't fill space. They hold it. You start to notice the signs. They eat last. They tie their own packs. They check the horses before sleeping. They look you in the eye when you lie. And they never lie back. They don't need to. They know the truth bends for them. They don't use words to lead, they use example. They walk into the storm first. And when they don't come back, no one fills their boots. Because no one can. Strength isn't something you inherit. It's something that burns itself into you after everything else is gone. You've watched lesser men scream and rage, pounding fists against gods they don't believe in. And the strong? They just nod. They already knew it would hurt. Already expected the cost. They pay it quietly and keep walking. One foot in front of the other. No fanfare. No witnesses. Just motion. You try to be like them. But you're not. Not yet. You still flinch. Still mumble excuses. Still hope someone else will take the first step. You're learning, though. Pain teaches faster than pride. And the horde has no patience for volume without value. So you start talking less. You start watching more. You notice how the strong really listen. To wind, to hooves, to the breaths between words. They store everything, say nothing, mean, until they have to. Then what they say, it lands like an axe. No wasted syllables, no softness, just precision. You start to emulate that. You stop laughing so loud. You start standing still longer. You breathe deeper. You realize power doesn't need to shout. It just needs to be there when everything else falls apart. You're not one of them yet, but maybe someday, when your voice is steady, no matter the storm, when your hands don't shake after a kill, when your name means something without being spoken, then maybe someone will say it about you. He smells like smoke and he doesn't say much. It starts simple. Clear orders, clear target. You ride in, bow drawn, blade sharp, heart hammering. You kill because you must. Because if you don't, someone else will. And they'll do it faster. At first, every kill has a reason. Enemy soldier, ambush, retaliation. But that changes. It always does. The reasons begin to blur. Soon, it's not about strategy, not about command, not about survival. It's about momentum. Because once the horde moves, you either keep up or fall behind. And the easiest way to stay in step, keep killing. You tell yourself the man you shot today was a threat. You tell yourself the woman reaching for her child had something hidden in her sleeve. You tell yourself the merchant running toward the woods was signalling enemy scouts. Maybe it's true. Maybe it isn't. You never check. There's no time to check. You move too fast for guilt. Too fast for questions. Too fast for anything that might slow your hand. Because questions get you noticed. And being noticed is dangerous. You've seen what happens to those who hesitate. You saw Tugun stall at the gate of a temple once, just for a breath, just long enough to look the monk in the eyes. He didn't swing. Someone else did. But that hesitation, it stuck. It lingered. A week later, Turgon was found with his throat slit. Officially, bandits. Unofficially, someone in the Arban who didn't like slow riders. So you learn. You keep your pace. You keep your blade ready. You kill even when you're not sure who they are. Because hesitation is a sin the horde doesn't forgive. You've seen children die under your arrow. You tell yourself they were messengers, spies. Maybe they were. Maybe they weren't. You saw a man kneeling, hands raised, crying. You drew. You loosed. He dropped. And you didn't stop to wonder if he was praying or surrendering. Because the only thing worse than killing the wrong person is being the only one who didn't. The horde doesn't slow down for conscience. It crushes it under hoof. You can't fall behind, so you keep pace. You keep cutting. You keep burning. Even when your chest tightens. Even when your dreams crack under the weight of the faces you don't remember but still see. Even when your hands won't stop shaking until they're soaked in someone else's blood. You tell yourself it's survival. It's the system. It's the code. But deep down you know the truth. Sometimes you kill just to keep up. Because the machine won't wait. And if you slow it down, you become the next reason to keep moving. You become the next target. You become the next justified death. So you ride. You kill. You silence the part of you that whispers, maybe this one didn't need to die. You bury it beneath the rhythm of hooves and steel and fire. You become part of the momentum, a moving blade, a burning torch, a fast hand in a world that doesn't forgive slow ones. And every time the voice creeps back, every time you wonder what the point of all this is, you shove it down. Because purpose doesn't keep you alive. Pace does. So you don't stop. You don't ask. You don't hesitate. You kill. You keep up. You survive. You used to own things. A bowl your mother carved. A blanket that smelled like pine. Boots with patches sewn by someone who cared. But out here, none of it followed you. None of it mattered. Now the only thing you own is what you carry. And even that, it's temporary. You look at your saddlebag, half empty. A knife, a whetstone, a water skin, a single spare pair of socks tied off with twine. Flint wrapped in cloth. Dried meat so hard you could hammer nails with it. That's it. That's your whole world. No keepsakes. No letters. No tokens from home. Home doesn't exist anymore. Or if it does, it doesn't remember you. You've become weight conscious. Everything you bring must justify itself. If it doesn't help you eat, sleep, fight or ride, it's left behind. Even sentiment gets cut for weight. You learn that fast. You remember dropping your last relic, a carved wooden ring, into the dust after it snagged on your reins during a charge. You didn't look back. Not once. That's the rule now. If it slows you down, it dies. You own your bow. You own your blade. You own your horse. But barely, because if it stumbles, it'll be taken and replaced like any other tool. You own your body for now. But even that doesn't feel permanent. Not when it's bruised, bent, burned and borrowed by the needs of men stronger than you. Not when your blood belongs to the dirt and your strength is spent on someone else's glory. So, what's left? What's truly yours? What you can carry? Not in your arms, in your habits. The way you wrap your bowstring in wax cloth so it doesn't go slack in the rain. The way you sleep facing north because you learned enemies favour the southern approach. The way you can pack your entire life in 60 seconds flat. It's not stuff anymore. It's instinct. Routine. That's your real inventory. You've seen men try to bring more. They don't last. They cling to little statues, trinkets, locks of hair, folded letters. You see them fall behind, see them hesitate, see them break when that one thing is lost in a river or trampled under hooves. And you see what happens after. The empty look, the slack posture, the quiet surrender. You don't carry anything like that now. Not because you're stronger, because you know better. Nothing is safe. Nothing is sacred. Everything you own can burn in a heartbeat, and most of it already has. So you keep it light. You keep it sharp. You keep it essential. Your bedroll is thin. Your spare tunic has holes. Your boots are cracked, but your bowstring is tight. Your blade is clean. Your arrows are counted twice a day. That's what matters. Not comfort, continuity. You don't need more. You can't afford more. Because the heavier you are, the sooner you fall. And once you fall, no one picks you up. They just strip your corpse of what's useful saddle, knife, meat and ride on. You've done it yourself. You've taken gear from dead friends without blinking. Not because you wanted to, because it was smart. Because they weren't using it anymore. Because the world doesn't pause for your grief or your sentiment, only for function. And function is what you carry. Everything else is weight. Everything else is a delay. Everything else gets left behind. So what do you own? This moment, this motion, this breath. the feel of the reins, the press of the blade against your ribs, the soreness in your thighs and the hunger in your gut, the wind against your teeth and the dust in your eyes, the tension in your shoulders and the rhythm of your heartbeat syncing with hoofbeats. You own nothing else. But out here, that's enough. You ride for the great Khan. You burn for him. You kill for him. You wake in the frost and sleep in the filth for his dream. But here's the truth you never say out loud. Genghis doesn't know your name. He never will. He doesn't know the ache in your knees or the wound festering under your ribs. He doesn't know how many men you've buried, how many arrows you've loosed, how many nights you've slept beside your horse just to survive the wind. He doesn't know what your mother looked like, or what your brother screamed when he bled out on a hillside 5 campaigns ago. You ride under his banners, but he's never heard your voice. You shout his name in battle. You raise your cup to his glory. But when you die, he won't know. He won't ask. He won't pause. And the world will keep spinning just the same. You've seen the portraits, the scrolls, the legends whispered around fires as if he's more than man, a storm-given skin. You've chanted with the others when his name was called. You've bowed. You've cheered. You've spilled blood for the empire he builds, one ribcage at a time. But deep down, when the dust settles and the fire goes out, you know, he's not thinking about you. He's thinking about maps, borders, thrones, trade routes, legacies. You're not a person to him. You're a number, an asset, a blade in a great machine. You wonder sometimes if he ever rode like you do. If he ever lay under the stars with blisters on his heels and snow in his boots. If he ever dug a grave for a friend with his own cracked hands. Maybe he did. Once. But that man's gone now. Replaced by something too big to bleed. Too high to see the ground anymore. And you're the ground. You're the dirt his horses ride on. The blood that soaks the soil beneath his victories. The silence that follows every conquest. You used to believe he'd see you someday. That if you fought hard enough, rode fast enough, stacked enough bodies at your feet, maybe, just maybe, he'd hear your name. Maybe he'd call you forward. Maybe you'd stand before him and be recognized. But no one ever does. The closest you get is hearing that someone in your division got a silver coin, or a girl, or a horse with a better saddle. But you stay in the mud. You stay hungry. You stay unknown. And part of you is angry. Because you gave him everything. And he doesn't even know you exist. But another part of you, the part that's still holding on, whispers that maybe that's the point. That maybe this isn't about being remembered. Maybe it's about doing the thing no one else will. Maybe it's about motion, about discipline, about becoming something so lethal, so efficient, so necessary that even if no one says your name, they remember what you did. Even if they don't know it was you, still you can't help but imagine it. For a second, a moment. Genghis on a hill, looking over the field, pointing down at you, and saying, "That one." But he won't. He never will. You're one of thousands, tens of thousands. Just another boot print on the path to empire. And when you die, the sun will rise the same way. The banners will wave the same way. The horde will move on like you never drew breath. And your name? It'll vanish in the wind. Same as the rest. But even knowing that, you keep riding. You keep killing. You keep serving. Because greatness doesn't ask to be thanked. And the horde? It doesn't need your name. Only your loyalty. You die on a Tuesday. Or maybe it's Thursday. You don't know anymore. The days stopped meaning anything a long time ago. It happens fast. An ambush. A crack of hooves. A blade through your side you didn't see coming. You gasp not from pain but from realization. This is it. This is the end. No speech. No glory. No slow fade into legend. Just a stab, a cough, and blood on your lips. You fall, and the world doesn't stop. Your horse bolts. Your comrades shout, but no one rushes to your side. Because they can't. Because if they do, they're next. So they ride on. They win the skirmish. They burn the village. They count the dead. You're number 6. They bury you that night. No ceremony. No prayers. Just a hole in the dirt and a name muttered under breath, if anyone remembers it at all. You're wrapped in your cloak. No markers. No stones. No carved words to say who you were or what you did. Just dirt. And silence. No one cries at your funeral. No one writes your name in the records. No one sends word to your family assuming they're still alive. No one takes your knife back to camp or returns your arrows to the supply tent. They're used by someone else the next day. Because in the Horde, death is logistics. Loss is math. And you're an equation already solved. You might get remembered by one of the men you rode with maybe for a week. Maybe longer if you saved his life once. But eventually, you're just a story. A name brought up when they drink. Or a lesson whispered to recruits. Don't do what he did. Keep your guard up. That's your legacy. Not medals. Not statues. Not songs. Just a warning. You thought it might be different. You told yourself if you died well fast, loyal, clean, someone might care. Someone might feel something. But out here, there's no room for grief. Grief is a luxury for men who don't have to ride tomorrow. And the Horde? It always rides tomorrow. So they bury you. They stand in silence for a minute less, probably. They check the perimeter. They eat. They sleep. They forget. Because they have to. Because there are too many names and not enough space to hold them all. Because if they cried for every man lost, there'd be no one left to fight. So, no one cries at your funeral. No one dresses in black. No one carves your name into stone. No one builds a monument. The monument is the next mile, the next fight, the next breath someone else gets to take because you took a blade that wasn't meant for them. That's the real funeral out here. The silence after. The fact that it continues without you. The fact that the machine keeps grinding and you're just another gear it wore down and spit out. And yet you chose this. You signed your name on the wind the day you rode out. You accepted this end. And deep down you knew. No one cries for blades. Only for the hands that once held them. And you became the blade. So now you sleep under dirt, nameless, and the world rides on above you, hooves thundering, boots stomping, war songs rising, not for you, but because of you, and that's enough. It has to be. The stories will forget you. That's a promise. You won't be in the scrolls, not in the campfire songs, not in the stitched banners flapping over future capitals you'll never see. They won't remember your name, or the number of arrows you carried, or the way you bled that one night outside Bukhara and kept riding anyway. They'll forget your face, your voice, your story. Because the stories are written for the victors. For the generals, the khans, the sons of nobles who watched the world burn from horseback and called it fate. But the steppe remembers. It doesn't speak your name. It doesn't hang your portrait. But it knows. It remembers the hoof beats. The blood spilled beneath grass, now tall and green again. The laughter that once echoed off rock faces now buried beneath wind and time. It remembers the pain in your knees, the fire in your lungs, the cracked lips, the calloused hands, the nights you slept with one eye open because you knew you weren't done yet. It remembers the way your horse trusted you, the way your knife felt when it slipped free without thought, the way your heart still beat even after the scream stopped. You're in the dust now, but the dust remembers. It clings to what you left behind, to your broken saddle strap buried beneath a collapsed campfire ring, to your arrow lodged deep in a tree trunk, weathered and moss-covered but still there, to the stain of a night raid no one wrote down, but the birds fled from for weeks. They won't write about the cold you survived, the miles you marched without food, the men you watched vanish, not in war, but in silence swallowed by exhaustion and fever and indifference. But the wind knows. It still carries your breath, still stirs the same paths you once rode, still whispers across those plains with the sound of old hooves and forgotten orders. And every time a rider crosses that land now, some part of them hears you, feels you, even if they don't know why their skin prickles or their horse hesitates just before the ridge. That's you. That's what the stories can't hold. Because what you did, it was never made for books. It was made for dirt, for motion, for fire. You were never supposed to be remembered by name. You were supposed to become part of something bigger, something older, something eternal. And you did. You burned. You bled. You survived. You fell. And the steppe absorbed you. You are its muscle now, its memory, its ghost. And when the wind howls at night, low and wide like it's mourning something no one can name, that's you too. That's all of you. The unknown, the unnamed, the forgotten in flesh, but remembered in earth. Because the empire will fade. The stories will change. But the steppe will still be here, waiting, remembering, breathing. And you ride in that breath, forever. Still here, still breathing, still awake. Then you just rode through hell on the back of the Mongol horde. You weren't supposed to survive. Most didn't. But you did. And if you want more like this, more war stories for sleep, more history that hits like a war drum, subscribe, hit that bell, drop a like. We tell the stories that didn't make the history books, because they were too heavy to carry. Thanks for riding with us. Sleep well, if you can.